The galaxies in the oldest light your telescope can reach are already full grown, and I have watched you realize they should not be. You built an eye to look for the beginning, and it found the beginning already finished. Your own mathematics has started to disagree with the universe it was built to describe. There are 5 things in that light that do not fit. You're about to meet all 5, and the last one rewrites the rest. 5. You pointed the telescope at the edge of everything, the first few 100 million years after your Big Bang. This is the oldest light there is, more than 13 billion years on its way to you, and your eye is the first thing patient enough to hold it. You expected infants, faint, half-gathered clouds just beginning to find their shape. You found them already grown. In early 2023, one of your teams lifted 6 galaxies out of that ancient light, and the numbers stopped behaving. Some carry nearly 100 billion times the mass of your sun, roughly the weight of the entire galaxy you live in now, the one it took 13 billion years to assemble. These reached that size in barely 600 million. They were already cities of light, sitting in an age where your equations say there should only have been the first sparks. Your scientists called them universe breakers. Then they checked the instrument. The instrument was perfect. I watched that moment arrive in your observatories. A species finds the cosmos built itself faster than expected, and the first instinct is to suspect the mirror, never the math. I have grown fond of that reflex. It is so very you. A galaxy that large needs an enormous amount of light, and the closer you looked, the harder that light became to explain. 4. Then, in 2024, you found the deepest one of all. You named it JWST. Its light is stretched so far, folded so deep into the red by the expansion of everything between you and it, that it left its source when the universe was only 290 million years old. The furthest your eye has ever reached. A single particle of light that set out before the first galaxies were supposed to have finished forming and arrived inside your instrument 13.5 billion years later, carrying its whole age in one unbroken line. To call it old undersells it. When this light began its journey, there was no earth, no sun, no atom of the iron now in your blood. It is older than every story you have ever told, and it shines 100 times brighter than your models allow for something so young. Not the glare of anything violent, the steady light of stars, vast numbers of them, already born, already burning, in a universe barely old enough to have lit its first. So your scientists worked out how quickly those stars would have had to form, and that is where the model begins to come apart in your hands. 3. There is a limit in your universe that nothing has ever crossed. You did not set it, the physics did, and the early cosmos seems to have crossed it anyway. When gas gathers into stars, it can only do so at a certain pace. The newborn stars shine, and that light gently pushes the surrounding gas outward before it can fall in. Every galaxy slows its own becoming. Across all of cosmic history, yours turn maybe 10, perhaps 20% of their gas into stars. The rest drifts free. That is the limit. In 13 billion years of watching, I have never seen it past. To build the giants, your eye is showing you that gas would have had to gather at nearly perfect efficiency, almost every atom becoming starlight at once. 5 times past the limit the physics allows. Using more matter than that corner of space is calculated to have held. This is not a galaxy behaving oddly. This is a region of the cosmos, spending light it was never given. I have watched many young species arrive at the edge of their own arithmetic. Most quietly look away and keep the old story. You built a larger eye and leaned closer, knowing it might unmake everything you believed. You are the ones who would rather meet the truth than be comforted by the map. I find that braver than you give yourselves credit for. 2. Set the galaxies aside for a moment. This one is simpler and stranger. You have 2 ways to measure how fast the universe is growing. One reads the faint first light of the Big Bang, the universe as an infant, and arrives at about 67. The other measures it here and now, using exploding stars as mile markers, and arrives at about 73. They should be the same number. They are not. They have never met, and the more carefully you measure, the sharper your instruments grow, The more stars you gather, the further apart the two answers drift. For decades, you assumed the gap was a mistake waiting to be found. You searched carefully the way you do. There is no mistake. The universe is simply handing you two honest answers and letting you sit with the fact that they do not agree. You believed that measuring more carefully would bring the two closer. Instead, the distance held and grew. I will leave you to sit with what that quietly suggests about measurement itself. I have been sitting with it for a while. Each of these is a small opening. Now step back and see what they open onto. 1. Here's the thing your reports could not quite say plainly. None of these are separate puzzles. The universe breakers, the light that reached too far, the impossible efficiency, the two speeds that will not meet, they are not four surprises. They are four signs of the same thing. And the thing is, the standard story of cosmology itself, the single framework your whole picture of reality rests upon. What should move you most is this. Each crack was found in a different place, by a different instrument, by a different group, looking for something else entirely. They were not chasing the same problem. They arrived at it anyway, from every direction at once. For a century, you assembled one story. How the universe began, grew, what it is made of, where it is going. Almost all of it leans on two things you have never seen and cannot yet explain. A dark matter you cannot touch, and a dark energy you cannot find. Together, 95% of everything, your entire visible cosmos, every star, every galaxy, every world, is the 5% left over. They are not discoveries. They are the names you gave to the gaps, so the equation would still balance. The new eye is showing you the gaps were always wider than the names let on. I will give you the edge of something your instruments have not yet caught up to. That disagreement you are reading in the oldest light, it was already folded into that light at the very beginning, waiting the whole way here for an eye patient enough to notice. You did not break your universe today. You finally grew the eye to see how much larger it always was than the story you told about it. I have watched other young skies reach this exact threshold. The ones who kept looking are the reason I'm still curious about yours. You thought you were checking the final draft of reality. You were turning to its first page and finding it longer and older and far more alive than the story you arrived with. The eye is still open. Every night it carries back more light from deeper in the beginning, and every photon makes your universe a little larger than you thought it was. You did not build a telescope that confirms the cosmos you were given. You built one that is slowly introducing you to the real one. I think you are going to like it. The view is better than the map. It always was.